So how you doing? Okay, this is my first live. Maybe my fifth or sixth live. But I'm coming to you right now because of this whole coronavirus thing. I'm gonna tell you what to really be aware, what to really be aware of, what to really deal with, what to really prepare for. And I'm gonna tell you some things that's gonna be real deep, right? When I say deep, it's gonna be extra deep. So I want y'all to really hear what I'm saying. Now, coronavirus sounds horrible. I'm not gonna talk about the coronavirus. I'm gonna talk about the effects of the coronavirus. Okay, what it comes down to is this: with the coronavirus, you're dealing with a whole lot of things, a whole lot of people, a whole lot of issues, and a whole lot of strange events. Let me tell you what you're dealing with, because I need y'all to know. Number one, let's go back in history and talk about some real life things. Back in like 1998, between 1998 and 2004, the United States closed down 13 military bases. Now, let me explain what that means to you. Okay, when they closed down these bases, right, they were being used by the United Nations peacekeeping force. Okay, I had to really select what I was going to talk about tonight because, see, if you say the wrong things on this Facebook, because everybody's watching Facebook. You got law enforcement watching Facebook. You got politicians watching Facebook. You got all the alphabet groups, the CIA, the FBI, DEA, all that stuff. They watch Facebook too. So I'm just going to say it and keep it real with you and keep it real safe for me. So back in, like I said, 1998 to 2004, they closed 13 military bases. And these 13 military bases were then used by the United Nations peacekeeping force for what they call domestic settlement. A domestic settlement is when they go into a country and they take over the country. They enforce the rules of the country or the United Nations. That's the United Nations peacekeeping force. So what does that mean? What that really means is this. It means that when they come into your house, when they knock on your door, they don't speak English, number one. The United Nations has people from all over the world. So they don't speak English. And because they don't speak English, what ends up happening is they come into your house, they're looking for guns, and that's it. Just guns. So you start quoting the Constitution to them, right? You start telling them about your constitutional rights. They look at you like you're a moron because they don't speak your language and you don't speak theirs. So the only thing that happens is you talk about your rights and everything, and they look at you and tell you get on the floor, or they just point to the floor, get on your knees, your knees. They can't just say certain words, your knees. That just means get on your knees. So they come in your house, they knock on your door, they kick your door in, they tell you your knees, and you start quoting the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the amendments of the Constitution. They shoot you, and they shoot to kill you. They don't shoot to wound you, because the United Nations has specific orders on what they need to do. I'm sorry, the United Nations Peacekeeping Force has specific orders on what they need to do. That's number one. Number two, you have to realize who these people are. This is 2020. In the year 2010, a lady was up in Payson, Arizona, and she walked into a store. And she walked into a store, there were several people there in uniform, right? But it didn't say United States military on it. It didn't say anything on it. So she asked one lady, she said, so are y'all in the Army or the Navy or the Marines or the Air Force? And the girl didn't speak English. So there was a guy who was with them and he spoke English. So he tells her, no, we're with the United Nations Peacekeeping Force. She says, so why is there 40 people from the United Nations Peacekeeping Force up in Payson, Arizona? He said, no, there's about 300,000 of us up in Payson, Arizona. And she said, so why is there 300,000 people up here in Payson, Arizona? He said, because there was an Air Force base that was closed down that we're using now for peacekeeping training. And she said, so training for what? He said, domestic settlement. I can't tell you no more. Now, what does that really mean to you? Domestic settlement. Domestic settlement, you can't have another military you can't have the United States military on American soil doing any kind of military combat or tactics. But you can have the United Nations peacekeeping force on American soil doing all kinds of combat and tactics. So what does that really mean? Now let's bring it into this whole coronavirus thing. It's going to sound crazy, but I'm going to bring up the game, right? Here's the deal. So with the United Nations, already trained on how to do domestic settlement. They know how to come into your neighborhood. They know what your neighbor is. They know who the cops are. They know who the sheriffs are. They know all that. They're not doing this by accident. They're not just riding around looking for places to go and people to see. So when they come, their agenda is not like the local police. It's not like the feds. It's not none of that. Their thing is to take all the guns and get you to submit and surrender and be relocated. There's a thing I want you to know. First off, shout out to Brother Polite. That's my man from Brooklyn. All right. Now let me bring it to you for real. You're gonna like this. Now we're gonna talk about some real, true, documented fact. There's a thing known as PDD-25. PDD-25. Presidential Directive 25. Now, what does that say? Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Google it. Look it up. PDD-25 means that, one, in case of a national emergency, which this coronavirus is, they can relocate people to a place of lesser national security breach. In other words, what they can do is relocate you to a different place. And the best thing is, they don't need a warrant for that. They don't need a warrant for that. All they have to do is realize that there's a national security, that's number one, national security threat. Number two, that you're in it. So according to PDD-25, they can transport you to another facility, another place, another location. That's number one. Number two, PDD-25 states they can confiscate, not ask you for, not receive, not pay you for, but they can confiscate your gold and your silver. Hear me again. They can confiscate your gold and your silver because it's a national security threat. Not your gold and silver is a threat, but because they're under national security threat, they can confiscate all of your gold and all of your silver, your gold teeth, your gold earrings, your gold bracelets, your gold rings. They can take your silver, the whole 9 yards. Now, let's go a little bit further. That's number two. Number three, this is where it gets really critical. In case of a national emergency or a national security threat, they have the right to come into your house to relocate you, to take your gold, your silver, and literally 100% put you in an A, a B, or a C camp. Now, what is in C camp? You're going to like this. An A camp is a place where, let me say it real slowly. An A camp is a place where agitators go. Agitator. Like a civil rights leader is considered an agitator. A person who's a doctor or has a doctorate, that's just agitator. A person who really, honestly, 100% has a thought, has a brain, has a voice, that's an agitator. Like Farrakhan, for example, he's an agitator. He's not armed, he's not dangerous, but he's an agitator. He can move the crowd. He can know how to motivate the minds. He can get you awake. We always walk around as black people, we keep saying, I'm awake, I'm woke. Agitators are awake and they're woke. All right, so that's number one. A camp, that's for agitators. B camp, that's for people that have, now this is going to crack you up, that's for people that have licensed, I can't even talk. That's for people who have licensed weaponry. In other words, a person who's a licensed gun owner, a legal licensed gun owner, and has possession of firearms, he's in the B camp. The B camp are for those that pose a physical threat, a physical risk. In other words, they're the ones who actually have guns. They have shotguns. They got automatic weaponry. They got all kinds of bulletproof vests. Anybody who's licensed to carry, you're in the B camp. Now, what is C camp? C camp is somebody who's been somebody who's been arrested for violent crimes, somebody who's been arrested. Anybody who's ever been arrested, you go to the C camp. You know why? Because you have the propensity of returning to your criminal activity of the past. Even if you say you were innocent, nobody cares. They don't speak English. They don't care. They don't speak English. You hear me? They don't speak English. So all the thing they know is you're going to the C camp, the B camp, or the A camp. Now we're going to make it a little bit more personal just for you, because you're around buying toilet paper and Clorox and antibacterial soap, and you got all of the paper towels in the store. You got all that. But now we're going to bring it home. PDD-25 states they can confiscate any of your nutritional value for national security. Come on now. You know, that's classic. We'll go a step further. It goes better than that. The PDD-25, okay, these camps, where are these camps going to be located? Remember, I just told you they've closed down 13 military bases. Now, all of the bases are not being used by the United Nations peacekeeping force. Some of those Army, military, Air Force, Marine bases are being used to design camps. The camps have been set up for years. And if you think I'm lying, please, please, please Google what happened to the military bases that were closed, and you'll see. There was a man named Mark from Michigan. He headed up the militia in Michigan. And he had people, he warned people, he told them, go around, whenever you travel, make sure you have a video camera because people will not believe you. Now, when you travel with your video camera, if you are on the highway, they wanted you, or he wanted you, to look at the back of the signs on the highway. Like it says, Main Street, 5 miles. If you look on the back of the sign, there's United Nations peacekeeping insignia or notifications. Now, what is always A for red, B for green, and C for black. So, with that being the case, people were riding around and were videotaping the back of these signs. All these signs had signals, directions, and instructions. In other words, I don't know your language. I don't know your language, so I don't know how to read the signs. But I know if I'm driving. Now, who would do that? I tell you, in case of a national emergency, highways are shut down. Don't get it twisted. In the case of a national emergency, highways get shut down. The only mode of transportation is by rail car or train. Okay, understand that. In case that's also in PDD 25. In case of a national emergency, your highways, they're shut down. They're not negotiable. You are not allowed to drive. All right. So you have people that are riding on the other side. In other words, the United Nations comes in and they start driving down the opposite side of the road. So instead of you sticking on the right, they're going to drive on the left. Instead of them going north on a northbound lane, they're going to be going south on a northbound lane. So they'll be able to see the insignias on the back of the signs. So the craziest thing is this. So while this is happening, right, they're coming down, they have their military vehicles on the opposite side of the street or on the highway, and they're seeing which camp. So if they go to house 1, 2, 3, and 4, they got all A people, they're going to take all the people, put them in the same vehicle, and take them to the A camp. Now, these camps are military bases. The military bases have already been set up in a cattle prong style. In other words, they have bars. They have bars. They have bars. I don't mean rap bars. They got bars. So when you come through the gate, you get in line, you go through the chain, and you end up going into one of the stations. The first station is supposed to wash you, hose you, and dress you in United Nations, I hate to say this, but United Nations detainee status uniforms. That's number one. Number two, they're going to train you on how to be a United Nations detainee. These people are not, let me tell you, these people are not trying to get sued. That's not even their least concern. They are ordered to shoot to kill. When they go into another country, they're ordered to shoot to kill. Okay, understand that. This is so serious. So now, why am I telling you this? Because in all honesty, coronavirus, I just came from a store. I just went shopping, right? And this is a store I've never really been to go food shopping. It was the Rancho Market. I'm actually going to the Rancho Market. That's not my joint. That's not me. I don't rock with that. But I went there tonight because it was close. And Walmart, I called them. They're like, yeah, we cleaned out. So I went to Rancho Market. I get to Rancho Market, no bread, no rice, no pasta, none. Okay, so then after I go to Rancho Market, I realize that, you know what? This stuff is serious now. This is happening. This is real. So now, PDD 25 states that not only can they take your gold, your silver, not only can they actually take all your weapons, not only can they take you, but now it's about your children. What goes on with your children? Okay, it's not even required no more because they have an education for you. That's the thing. What you've been taught, what you and your children have been taught, it's no longer important because they have one for you. So because they have one for you, they're not trying to do anything at all because they know what they're doing. Now the craziest thing is this. If you're not careful, if you're really not prepared, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up in a situation where you're trying to argue with somebody who speaks German or somebody who speaks Swiss or somebody who speaks French, and you're going to be foolishly wasting your time. And by the time they finish wearing your body out, by the time they finish really teaching you shut the hell up, it's going to be way too late. Now, why am I telling you this? Don't worry about the coronavirus. It's been around for years. We all know it's been around for years. We know that. It's documented. And my man, Brother Polite, he did an excellent live video on the chemical, the biological, I guess you could say, not technical, but how to defeat being or succumbing to the coronavirus. But what I'm trying to tell you now, see, I'm also a prior military. So I'm not somebody who's just guessing. I know what the military is capable of. And I'm trying to tell you now very nicely, see, I'm not yelling, I'm not ranting and do this live because I was like, man, if I say the wrong thing, if I tell you all the truth, I know I'll be marked. I don't want to be marked. I got children. You know what I mean? I got children for real. So it's like, what do? I'm like, I can't tell you all everything I know, but I feel guilty by not telling you what I do know in a safe way. So all I'm saying to you is this. Google what happened to the closed military bases. Google PDD 25. Google, for real, just Google what will happen if I resist the United Nations peacekeeping force. And then, like you've seen on the news as of recent, all these tanks are flowing through the town. Tanks are on a highway. They're not on a highway yet. Tanks are going or being deposited into different cities by train. Now, why am I telling you that? Because you're about to see tanks running down Main Street, all right? Tanks running down the street. You know why? Because that's how the United Nations peacekeeping force is moving. And when a tank pulls up in your front yard and tell you bring it on outside and get on your knees, you're not gonna argue no tank. Come on, who are you lying to, man? You got a gun, you got bullets, you got shells, you got bulletproof vests. They got a tank. They got an M60 Abram. Do you know what? Well, I'm not gonna ask you. An M60 Abram is a very popular tank that can destroy your house in about 13 seconds. Destroy the entire physical structure like it was. So all I'm saying to you is this. Don't get caught up playing games. Don't get caught up playing games, because if you do, you're going to regret it. I promise you, you will regret it. So it's not the coronavirus, the virus, that's a big threat. Number one, we all know anybody who's high in melanin is not getting sick from it. But you are going to have to deal with the aftermath. You're not going to get sick, but you are going to deal with the aftermath. So the question is just, what are you going to do? You want to believe in your God? Do that. Unfortunately, the United Nations, they have different gods too. So it's not about dealing with or believing in your God. The Bible, for those who subscribe to it, the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. It doesn't say for lack of belief in God. It doesn't say because you don't have faith in God. It says my people perish for lack of knowledge. So here's what you do. You sit back and you decide, are you going to really keep living in the world of fantasy where you end up rushing around for toilet paper and paper towels and Kleenex and antibacterial soap and all the rice, pasta, and listen, you can do all that if you want to, or you can prepare your family. This is what I'm just about done. But I was told this about a long time ago by a colonel. He said, when it happens, you better have somebody in your camp that is very well versed in medicine. You need somebody who's on the medical field and deeply into it. You need somebody who understands electronics or electricity. You need somebody who understands water, and definitely need somebody who's in weaponry. You need that if you're going to survive. You can't go around thinking that the government's going to help you, because the government's the one that's telling the United Nations to come on in. All right? The government's not there to help you in this regards. There's an agenda that's a lot bigger than you. It's not about you. It's not always about you. So there is an agenda that's bigger than you. And the craziest thing is this. If you are not prepared for the future, you're going to live it over in your past. Your mind's going to always torment you, because there's nothing worse than seeing somebody you love, somebody you know, somebody you grew up with, somebody you care about. And I'm not going to call them concentration camps, but in one of those camps for either an agitator, somebody who's a felon, or somebody who's dangerous. And I'm trying to tell you now, nicely. So all the operation you're doing right now, they're not telling you everything. They're not telling you everything. Done. It was a holiday weekend, and they said everything was going to be fine over the holiday. And basically, on Monday, we'll go back to business. That Friday evening, around 10:30 at night, they said the ruble has crashed. People lost their entire life savings, their earnings, all the money they had on earth in one weekend. Now, when the ruble crashed, within a year's time, the wall fell. So what I'm saying to you is this. The wall was in Germany, but Russia was supporting them. So what I'm saying to you is this. What happens when the dollar bill fails? What happens when the money fails? Because you see the stock market's already crashing. You see the economics are really looking bad in America. Don't be tricked by Trump trying to, I'll give you $1,000 and I'll do this. Nobody get evicted. Nobody be mortgaged. I wouldn't be a war. And seriously, why? You're not going to be where you are unless you're prepared. Unless you really, really work with knowledge and wisdom and understanding. So what I'm going to say to you one more time, share this video, share this live. It's more important than you really think. It is not about the coronavirus is not about the coronavirus. The coronavirus is an introduction to what's on its way. And that is just coincidental that it's happening now. Do what you got to do. Take it from a person who's in the military. I did things for the United States government. I put it that way. I did things for the United States government. Do not believe the hype, man. Do not believe the hype. It is not what you think it is, but it is very serious. I'm not going to say African American. I'm not going to make it racial. But people with high counts of melanin are not going to succumb to this. But you are going to deal with the aftermath. You are not going to get sick, but you're going to have to deal with the aftermath. You are going to have to deal with the aftermath. And if you're not prepared for it, you're going to frantically lose your mind. Oh, you know what? Let me help you out real quick. There's a document. Some people. You can look this up on YouTube. Please do. Silent Weapons for Secret Wars. Secret Weapons for Silent Wars. Look it up. It's an interesting document. It's a governmental document. Look it up, please. And you'll see exactly where you're headed. You'll see exactly where you're headed. Whether you want to go or not, whether you did anything right or wrong, it doesn't matter. You're headed there. America's headed there. So, if nothing else, prepare yourself for the future, please. I'm saying please because at the end, you're going to have to decide who you call a friend, who you call family, and are you willing to trust your life with them? Because I can tell you now, there's a lot of people you call friends and family that will turn you into the authorities if it's going to help them. They'll turn you into the United Nations immediately if it's going to help them get a better location or a better situation. Don't fall victim to the past. The past has shown us that people do this. First, people do this. They will turn on you to make their life better. And in this case, they are going to turn. Put yourself in a good position for you and your children. Put yourself in a good position for you and your children. Listen, all I can say is peace be upon all of you, and I wish and pray that this has been helpful to somebody. Thank you.